So we move straight to business, which is the appointment of chair. Can I have nominations?
Could I nominate Michael Payne for chair?
Okay, is that seconded?
Oh, can I second Michael Payne for chair?
Okay, and you had your hand up? I'm sorry, I don't know your name yet, so sorry, forgive me.
Chairman, can I nominate Roger Jackson, please?
Okay, is that seconded? Okay,
So I'll second that.
sorry, that's Councillor
Carlton.
Okay, so we move to a vote. Malcolm, can I ask procedurally, is this a show of hands? Just a show of hands. Okay, so we've had a nomination for Michael Payne as chair of the authority. Can I see show of hands for those who support that? How many is that? 10. Okay. We have a nomination for Roger Councillor Jackson. Can I have a show of hands for those who support that? Okay. Councillor Michael Payne is elected as chair of the Fire Authority. Would you like to come up and take the rest of the meeting?
Thank you very much, colleagues, for re-electing me as Chair of the Fire Authority, and welcome to everybody, particularly to new members, and welcome to Kevin. Hopefully this will be a nice venue for us, and hopefully soon we'll be back at the headquarters. Particular welcome to Commissioner Henry as well. Good to see you again, Caroline. We're going to move through the next item on the agenda, which is the appointment of Vice Chair. So I'll invite nominations from the floor for Vice Chair, please. Councillor Rain.
I nominate Toby Neal.
Thank you, Councillor Rain. Is that seconded?
Second, Councillor Toby Neal.
Councillor Clark. Any other nominations for Vice Chair? I'm not seeing any other nominations. No? Okay. All those in favour of Councillor Toby Neal? All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Congratulations, Councillor Neal, on your appointment of Vice Chair of the Fire Authority. Item 3 on the agenda today's is apologies for absence. Any apologies for absence? Malcolm, any apologies for absence? Everybody's here present. Thank you very much. Item 4 then is declarations of interest. Any members here present or officers want to declare any interest in relation to any business on the agenda. I accept the agenda is a very light agenda today, so possibly not. No. Okay, item 5 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of February, which are highlighted by the yellow pages in the agenda that has been circulated to colleagues. Any comments or questions in relation to the minutes, first of all? Not seeing any indication from members. Are members happy to take those as a correct record? Yes, agree. Thank you very much, members. We'll now move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is Chair's announcements. So, can I just formally say welcome to all new members and give a recognition to previous members of the Fire Authority. In particular, today welcome to Councillors Chantal Lee, to Patience Fedora, to Steve Battlemuch, to Roger Jackson, to Callum Bailey, to Robert Corden, to Eddie Cubley, to Beth and Eddie, to Scott Carlton, John O'Lee, Tom Hollis and Commissioner Henry. It's really great to have you all here, and I really do hope you enjoy your time on the authority. Let me just say from the outset as Chair that when I was elected Chair of the authority a few short years ago after taking over from Councillor Brian Grocott, who was the City Councillor, that I made it the hallmark of my chairmanship that this authority will be collegiate, that everybody, irrespective of their political view, will be engaged, will be included, will be listened to, will be heard and will be valued. And I restate that commitment here today as Chair of the Fire Authority. One of the practical things I did as Chair of the Authority, which had never previously happened before in the Authority's history, with the support of Councillor Toby Neal, but particularly with the support of Councillor Andrew Brown, lead spokesperson for the Conservatives, and the support of Councillor Drosney, was to institute group leaders meetings and group leaders briefings. That paid particular dividends, I have to say, throughout the COVID crisis, where there was a need to put party politics to one side, to come together to support our communities, both in the city of Nottingham and in the county of Nottinghamshire. I also think it gives a degree of stability and a sense of long-term vision, both to the fire service and to our Chief Fire Officer John Buckley and his team, but also to the excellent work that we do with Nottinghamshire Police, with our colleagues at the ambulance service and with our colleagues at the respective councils, both at district and borough level, but also at principal authority level in terms of the county and the city. And it's absolutely fantastic that Commissioner Henry has taken up the offer to come on to the committee as a full voting member, and had a very positive meeting with Commissioner Henry alongside the Chief last week. And I know that Commissioner Henry and I have got a lot of shared views about how the services can work together closely. We're determined to make sure that happens in the interests of the communities that we serve. Let me just particularly then pay thanks on the public record to previous councillors who are no longer with us, either because they have retired from public service or because they are now carrying out different roles in their respective authorities, or because they were unfortunate not to have succeeded in being re-elected in their respective elections. So a particular thank you to Councillors Vaughan Hopewell, to John Longden, to Mike Quigley. Congratulations to Mike on being elected yesterday as the Chairman of the County Council. Was proud to support him in that role. To Councillor Jonathan Wheeler, to Councillor Parry Simbiridis, Shagufta Caduce from the City Council, Salma Momtaz, Javed Khalil, Sue Saddington, who I'm pleased to see is still serving on the County Council, Stephen Garner from Mansfield, and also to the former Police and Crime Commissioner, Paddy Tipping, who we always enjoyed a strong relationship with, and I know that's going to continue under Commissioner Henry's stewardship. Let me pay specific tribute to Councillor Andrew Brown. I said to Andrew 2 days ago when I spoke to him on the phone that not only do I view Andrew as being a colleague and somebody I work closely with professionally, I thought he was an absolutely outstanding lead spokesperson for the opposition group, and I know that Roger will continue in that vein on the authority. And he has become a close friend as well as a professional colleague, and I am not afraid to say that in the group leaders meetings we had with Andrew, he put forward proposals and suggestions in the Fire Authority that nobody else had thought about, either the principal officers, myself as Chairman, Toby as Vice Chief Chairman, or indeed the wider authority. And he deserves a huge amount of credit for the way in which he conducted himself on this authority. And I said to him only 2 days ago that in order for this authority to be collegiate, in order for it to move forward in the interest of our communities and not in the interest of party politics, it requires two to tango, and Andrew was absolutely remarkable in the way that he presented himself. A lot of the budget strategy, which we'll deal with in future meetings, and issues around reserves and the more long-term vision that the authority took was in no small part down to the contribution that Andy made. So I know, Andy, you're going to be listening to part of today's meeting back. You're enjoying a day out, I think, today with the family, which is thoroughly well deserved. But to you, Andrew, on behalf of the entire Fire Authority, thank you very, very much, and look forward to having a fight with you very soon. I will formally be writing on behalf of the authority to thank all past members and those who served for all 4 years will be invited to a future meeting to receive a certificate of thanks for their service. A few more items in relation to Chair's announcements. Future meetings of the authority. Due to the requirement for the authority to meet in person, the AGM is being held here, which I'm very, very proud of, and thanks to Councillor Clark, Leader of Edinburgh Council, for hosting us. John, very much appreciated. However, going forward, committees will be held at the fire headquarters as normal. For those of you who don't know, the fire headquarters is just off Oxbows Lane, off Mansfield Road in Arnold, up the Westwood Lodge Drive towards the Westwood Lodge Hotel on the right-hand side. And subject to restrictions being lifted at stage 4 of the government roadmap, full authority meetings will also resume at HQ in July. Members will be informed accordingly. Let me just say to all new members at this stage that we have an absolutely outstanding set of staff and supporters as authority members, not only Chief John Buckley and his wider team, but particularly to Leanne and Lorraine, who have been helping and assisting this morning. If you have any questions as an authority member about your role on the authority or about support or things you're unsure of, please don't sit in silence. Please do ask the questions. There are no such thing as silly questions. Everybody is valued and respected here, whichever authority you come from, whichever political party you're on. And I don't want any authority member to feel like they haven't got the support that they need. I have to say the fire service has given first-class support while I've been on this authority, both as a member and as chair and a member of the committee, and that goes out to everybody. Likewise, to my left, we've got Malcolm Townrow, who is the clerk to the authority, an independent person separate from the Chief Fire Officer's staff. He is effectively our monitoring officer. He makes sure that we stay the right side of the law, make sure that we're upholding the highest standards, and if you've got any questions around governance, then Malcolm Townrow is the person to speak to either through email or please do speak to him at the relevant meetings. And likewise, Becky Smedders is here as well today, who acts both as the head of finance for the service, but also as the independent treasurer of the authority, giving us financial advice, if you like, effectively our Section 151 officer. I'll just finally say thank you to City Council colleagues from the Governance Department who helped Clark today's meeting, our colleagues from IT for allowing this meeting to be streamed so that it's transparent and publicly accountable. Just finally then, the members' seminar will be held virtually on the 4th of June from 9:30 to 3:30. And I would encourage everyone, and I know that members here present who have served previously will attest to the fact that it's always a very informative meeting. The Chief will talk about some of the challenges facing the service, some of the issues facing the wider sector, which I know Commissioner Henry is well across, and he's going to be a strong voice nationally for us with government ministers around, and we've already talked about some of the issues where we can find common ground and be raising issues in relation to some of those particular challenges and opportunities facing the sector, but also there'll be a discussion about the fire service, particularly on the role of members. So please do attend if you can. In terms of COVID-19, and this will not do tribute to the amazing work that's been done by all of our emergency services, but particularly the one team approach by Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, led ably by our Chief John Buckley. We've also got our Deputy Chief Fire Officer here today with us, Craig Parkin, and we have an Assistant Chief Fire Officer, Candida Brood now, who's they're an outstanding principal team. The service does continue to respond positively with the constraints of the pandemic, with a significant shift towards returning to business as usual where possible. Some staff continue to support testing and vaccinations, and indeed I know there are some members here present who receive vaccinations from firefighters or fire service staff. However, this will reduce, as you'd expect, over the coming months as staff return to the primary roles within their service. The service has played its full part in supporting the fight against COVID, and I want to put on record, and I know I speak for the entire authority when I say this, a thanks to all staff for their continued diligence and commitment to serving their communities, be it delivering prescriptions, be it delivering medicine, be it helping deliver clothes to people, be it some of the checks on people who are lonely, be it driving ambulances at a time where the ambulance service was incredibly stretched, supporting our police colleagues, which Commissioner Henry is fully aware of, has been a really positive contribution towards supporting our communities and indeed the government's efforts of what have been a really difficult time for our country and our communities in the last year. And the approach, I think, from the fire service is the approach we see all the time, which is that they're there for our communities. And far from being a service that just responds to putting out fires, it's a service that deeply cares about the communities it serves and is deeply rooted in them. So thank you, John, to you, but thank you to the whole team for the role that you played in Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service. And finally, the Armed Forces Covenant. I am really pleased, and I know, talking to Commissioner Henry last week, she has a particular passion around this, and I know there are other members on the authority. I can see Councillor John O'Leary somewhere has a particular passion around this as well, and indeed other members do. That I'm really pleased the service has been awarded the gold level of the Armed Forces Covenant. There are only 7 organisations in the county with this accolade, and it demonstrates our very clear commitment as a service to supporting armed forces personnel, both past and present. And certainly while I'm ever in the chair, that will continue. Any comments or questions in relation to the chair's announcements? Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you. May I give first to congratulate you becoming Chairman of this authority. Although you are the majority group, you are a minority administration. I will say that my group is very willing to work with you. Thank you for your kind words. I would like to carry on as Andrew Brown did as before, be all inclusive for the betterment of this authority going forward, working together.
Thank you, Roger. That's very much appreciated, and look forward to our conversations in the leaders' meetings. Roger, making full use of your experience and skills, and congratulations just today on being appointed Vice Chair of the County Council. Thoroughly well deserved. I'm sure Jill is very pleased for you, so congratulations. Any other comments or questions in relation to Chair's announcements? I'm not seeing anything indicating. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 7. If you like, the only substantive piece of business on today's agenda, which is membership of the authority, appointments to committees and boards, and dates of future meetings. I am going to introduce the clerk to speak to this report. With people's indulgence, I would just like to suggest from the chair that we deal with recommendations 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3 first, and then we deal with the committee memberships and committee chairs. The reason is I'm really pleased that Commissioner Henry indicated that she wishes to be a full voting member on the authority, and I would really like to deal with that business up front and effectively formally record that Commissioner Henry is a member up front, rather than taking them all as agenda items later on. I'd like to deal with that up front. It seems only fair to Commissioner Henry, who's given her time to be here today and responded to our request in writing very quickly. And I'm really pleased about that, Commissioner Henry. So if people are happy, I propose that's what we do, but I'll let the clerk speak to the report. We'll deal with 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3 on block, and then we'll move through the committee memberships. And obviously the clerk will then ask the respective lead spokespersons for the groups to nominate their respective members to the committees in accordance with the political balance that's set out in the agenda, which is obviously guided by legislation. I'm not seeing anything indicating that they're unhappy with that approach. I hope people understand why I'm suggesting that approach. So over to the clerk to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. And in fact, I think you covered a number of the elements that I was going to cover. I think the key issue really for me in relation to 10.1 on the report is that we have to formally consider the request from Commissioner Henry in accordance with the legislation and approve it, or if we do not approve it, explain why we do not approve it. The appointments to the Fire and Rescue Authority have been confirmed by the individual authorities, the County Council and the City Council, so they are merely issues for noting. The committee structure has to be formally approved at this meeting, as it would be at every AGM. And the final 2 items are the appointments to the individual committees, and what I will do at that point is I will ask the group leaders to nominate the individual nominations to each committee. So we will do it on a committee by committee basis, and once we've done the first committee, we will deal with the appointment of the chair. Some chairs are already appointed, so the chair of the Policy and Strategy Committee, in accordance with the Constitution, will be chair of the authority. And final 2 items are appointments to the Strategic Inclusion Board and to the Pensions Board. So I think from my perspective, that's all I need to add some comments from the chair. And I say
questions from members for the clerk in terms of this report? I'd just like to say, following on in the vein of what I said at the start of this meeting, that in terms of the Strategic Inclusion Board, which is a really important meeting talking about issues around inclusion, diversity, equalities, which are really important for the service, that whilst there is a formal membership to that committee, I would like to extend membership of that board to everybody on the authority. It meets at the rising of the full authority, and as chair, I have the ability to do that. I would like to say to all members over and above those who are formally named today, if you wish to attend that meeting, please do come along. It's a really important meeting that talks about how we can improve recruitment and retention, particularly in terms of gender balance issues in relation to LGBT, BAME, recruitment issues where we've got common ground with this force here, locally but also nationally, in relation to tackling some of those issues, but also how we make sure that the workplace is a safe place for people irrespective of their race, gender, sex, religion, background. It's really, really important, and I know that we share this agenda with Commissioner Henry, that we tackle these issues front on, and that we use everybody's skills and expertise in the authority. So I'm going to open that invitation to everybody to partake in that meeting. If there aren't any comments and questions, I'm going to move recommendations 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3 on block. So just to read those out to all members present. Consideration be given to the request from the Police and Crime Commission to be appointed as a member of the authority with full voting rights. I'm suggesting that we approve that. 10.1. 10.2, the appointments to the Fire and Rescue Authority, as read out by the clerk, are noted, i.e. that we all here present are members of the authority from our respective principal authorities, the City and County Council. And 10.3, the committee structure, as outlined in accordance with the government structure, but also the political balance in terms of legislation is approved. And then we're going to run through the appointments to respective committees. So I'm going to move 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3. Toby, you happy to second those recommendations? They're seconded by the Vice Chair. I'm going to take a show of hands vote. All those in favour. Commissioner Henry, I don't really want to say anything at this point. Maybe it's a chance for you to say a little bit about your role and a little bit about maybe some of the conversations that we had and some of your priorities before we take the vote.
I've got to be careful what I say now to make sure that you still really want me on here. No, thank you very much for welcoming me. We already do some really good joint work with the police and the fire and rescue service, and I'm on operation listen here today. I just want to see what I can do to help. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Henry, and you're most welcome. And I know we're going to have a really productive relationship between the two organisations. So I'm going to formally move those recommendations. So just a show of hands, please. All those in favour of those three recommendations? All those against? Any abstentions? No? Okay, that's unanimous that those recommendations are approved. Okay, I'm now going to move on to, we'll deal with 10.4 first, I think. I'm going to ask the clerk to just run through the numbers in terms of the committees and ask the lead spokespersons for each committee just to put forward their respective names, and then obviously the clerk will, I think we just deal with this all in one go back, and the clerk will take nominations for the committee chairs, and then we'll call a vote if there needs to be a vote.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, the Policy and Strategy Committee, there are 3 Labour seats, 2 Conservative, 1 Ashfield Independent, 1 Labour seat will be Councillor Payne. Could I have the other 2 Labour nominations, please?
Thank you. The other nominations are Councillor Sybil Fielding and myself, Councillor Toby Neal.
Thank you. And Conservatives?
It's myself, Councillor Roger Jackson and Councillor John O'Lee.
Thank you. And Ashfield Independent?
Thank you, Malcolm. It's me.
As I already said at the outset, the chair of that committee will be Councillor Payne. Moving on to the AGM committee, there are 3 Labour seats, 2 Conservative and 1 Ashfield Independent. Could I have the Labour nominations, please?
Yes. The nominations are, the appointments are Councillor Chantal Lee, Councillor Gulnawaz Khan, and myself, Councillor Toby Neal.
Thank you. And for the Conservatives?
It is myself, Councillor Roger Jackson and Councillor Bethan Eddy.
Thank you. And the Ashfield Independents?
That's Councillor Hollis.
Thank you. Now, for this committee, we need to appoint the chair from you. And Conservative?
Councillor Scott Carlton and Councillor Eddie Cudley.
Thank you. And Ashford Independent?
That's me again, Malcolm, thank you.
Thank you. Could I have nominations for chair, please? Councillor Hollis?
Councillor Jason Zadrozny.
Is that seconded?
Second, Jason Zadrozny.
Are there any other nominations? No? Councillor Grossman, welcome to the position of Chair of Community Safety. Finance and Resources, 3 Labour nominations, 3 Conservative. Please, can I have the Labour nominations?
Thank you. Councillor John Clark, Councillor Steve Backlemunch and myself.
Thank you. And Conservative?
Councillor Eddie Cudley, Councillor John O'Lee and Councillor Callum Bailey.
Thank you. And could I have nomination for Chair, please?
Could I nominate Councillor John Clark as Chair of Finance?
Is that seconded?
Second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? No? Councillor Clark, congratulations on your reappointments. Moving on to Personnel Committee, this is 3 Labour, 3 Conservative, but must include 1 member from the HR Committee. So can I have nominations from Labour, please?
It's myself, Councillor Chantal Lee and Councillor Cyril Fielding.
Thank you. And the Conservative nominations, please?
It's myself, Councillor Robert Gordon and Councillor Callum Bailey.
Thank you. The chair of that particular committee would be appointed if and when it had to meet. So moving on to Appointments Committee, this will include the chair and vice chair of the authority, so that leaves 1 further Labour nomination, please.
Yes, Councillor John Clark.
Thank you. And 2 Conservatives, please.
Councillor Robert Gordon and Councillor Bethan Eddy.
Thank you. And 1 Ashfield Independent, please.
That's Councillor Hollis.
Thank you. And the chair of the authority will chair that particular committee if it had to meet. We then move to the Strategic Inclusion Board. As the chair has already outlined, all members are invited, but we still need to formally appoint 3 Labour, 2 Conservative and 1 Ashfield Independent. So could I ask for the Labour nominations, please?
Yes, Councillor Michael Payne, myself and Councillor Chantal Lee.
Thank you. Conservatives?
Myself, Councillor Scott Carlton and Councillor Bethan Eddy.
I'm sorry, you've only got 2 nominations.
Oh, I apologise, sorry.
So it's Scott
Myself is Councillor Scott Carlton.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And Ashford Independent?
Thank you, Malcolm, that's me. Can I just take this chance to echo the Chair's comments about the importance of that board? Those members who aren't formally on it, I would think that they should come in if they can, because it's a very important, very interesting board.
Thank you. And the final issue that I need to cover off then is in relation to the Pensions Board. At the moment we have Councillor Fielding, you are the member of the Pensions Board.
I nominate Councillor Fielding to continue in that role, to be substituted by the Vice Chair, Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Fielding is very experienced in this particular area, and it's an area I think is likely to attract more attention given the ongoing conversations in relation to the pension scheme and has some significant training in this area. So I hope that Councillor Fielding will like to support the authority to continue in that role with Councillor O'Neill as Vice Chair, substituting if needed.
Are there any other nominations? No? Good. Congratulations to Councillor Fielding on your appointment. And Councillor Neil on being substituted. Chair, that concludes all the elements of the appointments to the committees and the chairs. Formally approve
Thank you very much to the clerk, thank you to the lead spokespersons for their forbearance there, and just to stress, as Councillor Strosney said, all those members who aren't formally named on the Strategic Inclusion Board, please do come along to the meetings. You are more than welcome. They are a really important meeting that needs to rise of the authority. We do then just need to, we've dealt with the business, but formally approve those appointments to the committees, the appointments to the committee chairs, and the appointments that we've made to the Strategic Inclusion Board and the Pension Board, respectively, as just agreed by the authority. So I'm going to move 10.4 and 10.5, as we just dealt with. Happy to second that. Toby?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Show of hands, please, from colleagues. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? No? Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the annual general meeting. Thank you very much for all of your time. A sincere welcome to everybody, to the authority. I think we're going to have a really good time on the authority. There's lots of skills and expertise here across party. We're going to make sure that all of that skills and expertise is effectively used. Please do come along to the members' seminar. Please do take an opportunity to speak to our officers here today before you leave, have an informal chat and conversation. Fantastic to have you here, Commissioner Henry. Look forward to working with you going forward. And please do enjoy the bank holiday weekend. And please do get stuck in when you're in the committees. If you've got ideas and suggestions and questions, please do put them forward. Don't sit there and be frightened to put them forward. And I'll just say this finally. Very rarely do we have votes here in the authority. You know, we like to have our conversations and our robust discussions privately where we can. That's not to say we're always going to agree. Of course there will be disagreements. That's healthy, that's democracy. But I will do my level best in the chair, with the vice chair, with the respective group leaders, to make sure that we can find the common ground where there is the common ground, because that is in the interest of the communities that we serve. And it's been fantastic few years on the authority where we've had, I think, no votes actually. We haven't been pushed to a vote. The budget this year, telling Commissioner Henry this last week, was supported by every group unanimously. And that's because every group felt they've been part of the discussion and involved in the discussion, and I am determined to make sure that that happens as chair of this authority. And I will circulate my details, and if any member feels that they've got any concern or that they aren't being valued or respected, or they've got particular issues or questions that they want to ask of me as the chair, or indeed Toby as the vice chair, my door is always open. I'm always available on phone and email. Either through your group leader or directly. If you've got particular questions, please do come and have a chat. I really do hope you'll have a nice, enjoyable, safe bank holiday weekend, and thank you for being here today. And just sincere apologies on behalf of me and Councillor Clark as leader and deputy leader. We can't offer you a nice coffee or a cup of tea or a bottle of water. COVID restrictions at the moment, understandably, are precluding us from offering drinks in the ordinary way and refreshments in the ordinary way. But if you ever come here again, we'll certainly make sure that is on offer when restrictions are lifted. Jason, I know you'll be particularly disappointed. Okay, I'm going to formally close the business if we can stop the